The year is 2026. The tennis world has been turned upside down. For 2 seasons, Aryna Sabalenka has sat atop the WTA rankings, an unassailable fortress of power and consistency. She has spent 100 weeks as the world's number 1, joining an elite club that includes only the immortals of the sport. She has amassed 106 tour-level match wins while carrying that target on her back, becoming just the 9th woman in history to reach triple-digit victories as the top-ranked player. This is a reign built to last, a dynasty carved in power. Yet, as the tennis caravan rolls into the final major of the season, a dramatic narrative shift has occurred. The crown is heavier. The aura of invincibility is cracked. Aryna Sabalenka, the 2-time defending US Open champion, arrives in New York in 2026 with a title drought at the majors that stretches back to her triumph here last year. The season has been a tale of frustration and missed opportunities. She was overpowered in the Australian Open final. She squandered a commanding lead in the French Open quarterfinals. She was stunned in the 4th round at Wimbledon. The dominant force has been showing cracks, and her rivals have taken notice. Now, the stage is set for a dramatic confrontation. Can the champion who has redefined power tennis rediscover her killer instinct on the sport's biggest stage? Or will the 2026 US Open mark the moment the empire crumbles, and a new era of unpredictability begins? The answer will define the future of women's tennis. This is the story of a champion on the edge of history, and the challengers waiting to tear her down. Aryna Sabalenka's journey to the top of the tennis world is a story of triumph over personal demons. It's a story that began with a vow. We all remember the raw emotion in the Netflix documentary Breakpoint, a young Aryna, grappling with the sudden loss of her father, explaining the promise she had made to him, to win Grand Slams and become the best in the world before turning 25. That goal, once a source of immense pressure, became her driving force. She conquered the yips, the debilitating double faults that plagued her serve, and transformed herself from a talented but erratic player into a machine of controlled aggression. Her victory at the Australian Open was not just a win, it was a release, a fulfillment of a sacred pact. Since that moment, Sabalenka has been the measuring stick for the WTA. Her back-to-back Australian Open titles and back-to-back US Open crowns have placed her in rarefied air. She is the first woman since Angelique Kerber in 2016 to capture both hard-court majors in the same season, a feat she has now replicated. Her combination of raw power, a booming serve, and relentless ground strokes has seemed unbeatable. She has finished as the year-end number 1 for 2 consecutive seasons, a dominance not seen since the days of Serena Williams and Ashley Barty. The numbers are staggering: 100 weeks at number 1, a reign that has only been exceeded by 9 players in the history of the sport. But the 2026 season has brought a new set of challenges. The invincible champion has looked vulnerable. The head and shoulders above everyone else status she has enjoyed has been challenged with stunning frequency. She has won only 9 sets by a scoreline of 6-0 or 6-1, a statistic that pales in comparison to rivals like Iga Swiatek and Mira Andreeva, who have dominated more decisively. The story of the season has not been one of Sabalenka steamrolling opponents, but of the champion finding herself on the wrong end of surprising scorelines. The 6-0 final set she suffered against Jessica Pegula in Berlin and the 6-0 third set in her French Open quarterfinal loss to Diana Schneider have become chilling symbols of a new fragility. The psychological armor that made her a champion appears to have some chinks. The question now is whether she can repair them in time. The path to the 2026 US Open has been paved with agonizing lessons. The season has been a masterclass in the fine margins that separate victory from defeat at the highest level. It began with a heartbreaking loss in the Australian Open final, a match where she was the heavy favorite. As the defending champion, the weight of expectation was immense, and she came unstuck against an opponent who refused to be intimidated. Then came the French Open, a tournament that represented a golden opportunity to finally conquer her least favored surface. She stormed through the draw, looking unstoppable. Then came the quarterfinal against Diana Schneider, where Sabalenka built a 6-3, 4-1 lead and seemed destined for the semifinals. And then, inexplicably, she collapsed. She lost 12 of the final 13 games, throwing away her lead in a stunning display of unforced errors and wavering belief. "I'm just so tired of losing some matches, not in the best way, but because I was over-emotional," she confessed after the match. This admission is crucial. Sabalenka has long been a player who wears her heart on her sleeve, and the pressure of expectation, of being the overwhelming favorite, has become a burden. The pressure to win her first Roland Garros, the constant pressure to justify her #1 ranking, it all seems to manifest in tight moments. The BBC report on her French Open loss noted that her tally of 4 Grand Slams is not enough given her superiority, a sentiment that has to be heavy on her shoulders. She has now lost 4 Grand Slam finals and 6 major semifinals, a record of consistency that, for a player of her caliber, also represents a catalogue of what-ifs. The grass season offered no reprieve. At Wimbledon, her least successful major, she was stunned in the 4th round by Naomi Osaka. For the first time since the start of the 2023 season, Sabalenka had lost before the quarter-finals of a major. The streak was broken. The safety net was gone. Entering the US Open, the pressure on Sabalenka is immense, but it is a different kind of pressure. It is not the pressure of expectation to dominate, but the pressure of desperation to stop the slide. The narrative has shifted from, "Can anyone stop Aryna Sabalenka?" to, "Can Aryna Sabalenka stop her own decline?" The answer to that question, as we head into New York, is the most compelling storyline in tennis. As Aryna Sabalenka prepares to step onto the court in Flushing Meadows, she is not just fighting for a title, she is fighting for her place in history. She is the 2-time defending champion. A 3rd consecutive title would make her the first woman to achieve the US Open three-peat since the legendary Serena Williams from 2012 to 2014. That is the kind of company that cements a legacy. To join Serena, to etch her name alongside the all-time greats, is the ultimate motivation. The 2026 US Open is her chance to answer the critics who say her talent hasn't been fully realized in Grand Slam victories. A win here would be a powerful statement that, despite the struggles of the season, she remains the sport's defining force. However, the weight of this history can be both an inspiration and an anchor. The pressure to defend a title is a well-documented challenge in sports, and Sabalenka has admitted to overthinking in the past. Her losses this year have been characterized not by a lack of ability, but by a loss of mental control in critical moments. She has the game to beat anyone. She has the power to overpower anyone. But the question is whether she has the mental fortitude to navigate the treacherous waters of a Grand Slam draw where everyone will be gunning for the champion. Every opponent will see her vulnerability, and they will attack it without mercy. Adding to the intensity is the statistical pressure at the top of the rankings. Her lead over second-ranked Aryna Rybakina is a razor-thin 407 points. A poor performance in New York, where she is defending her 2000 championship points, could be catastrophic for her grip on the #1 ranking. The entire season could be undone in a fortnight. This is the stark reality facing Sabalenka. She is not just playing for a trophy, she is playing to preserve her season. Every round will be a battle not just against her opponent, but against the accumulating pressure. Can she channel the memories of her previous triumphs into the belief she needs to conquer her demons? The history books are waiting to be written, but the pen is in her hands. The 2026 US Open is not just a defensive stand for Aryna Sabalenka, it is a declaration of war for the rest of the WTA field. The landscape of the top of the women's game is shifting. While Sabalenka has held the top spot, the fear factor is eroding. The big three, of Sabalenka, Swiatek, and Rybakina now feels less like a fortress and more like a group of rivals vying for supremacy. The emergence of new stars like Mira Andreeva, who won her maiden Grand Slam at the French Open, has injected a new level of unpredictability into the draw. The window of opportunity to dethrone the queen has never been wider, and the players know it. Consider the competition. Aryna Rybakina, the Australian Open champion, has proven she can beat Sabalenka on the biggest stages. Iga Swiatek, who has had a quieter season by her own standards, is always a threat and holds a formidable record on hard courts. Jessica Pegula, the American #1, pushed Sabalenka in the 2025 final and is hungry for a major breakthrough. Then there are the dark horses, the improving Diana Schneider, who has already beaten Sabalenka, the consistent Coco Gauff, the unpredictable power of Naomi Osaka, and the relentless rising stars like Mira Andreeva, who enter the major with confidence. This is not a one-player tournament. This is a gladiator pit. The scene is set for a classic. Sabalenka arrives with the weight of the world on her shoulders, defending a title and a legacy. Her challengers arrive with nothing to lose and everything to gain. The New York crowd, always a factor in the drama of the US Open, will be a force to contend with. They love a champion, but they adore an underdog story. Every roar for an American or a rising star will be a shot of adrenaline for Sabalenka's opponent. This is where dynasties are either solidified or crumble. The question is not just about tennis skill, but about heart, resilience, and the ability to perform when it matters most. As the world turns its eyes to Flushing Meadows, one thing is certain: the 2026 US Open will change everything. The story of Aryna Sabalenka and the future of women's tennis is about to be rewritten.